Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It's another Lucius cast. I'm coming at you with a late night edition here. I am feeling a buzz, not just because I'm drinking, but I'm kind of a little bit free. In my own personal timeline of having been quarantined, self-quarantined, because my girlfriend, who's a nurse, tested positive for COVID-19, and by extension, I just automatically threw myself in there without any testing, but I shared close quarters, intimate range. I assumed I had to be on the same level, but I've been doing fine, guys. There's been no drawback. There's been no fever, coughing, shortness of breath, any complications, really. I would say it is almost like you have to wonder if you're not inventing the symptoms in your mind as you go along in the day. And no one else, as far as I know, and her family who has tested positive as well, has any complications as well. So I would say don't fear it if you happen to. I think the worst cases are being publicized and blown up out of proportion, made mountains out of molehills on this. And it's something that you guys can most likely work through. Not to say you shouldn't take it seriously, you shouldn't take any precautions as far as your exposure to other people, but that's been my experience with it. But I want to show you the latest illustration I've been doing. I was on a stream last night with Inkspots, his F Monday, and it was a Memorial Day one. I forgot it was a holiday weekend, and he threw that at us, and I was like, oh yeah, that is a thing. And at some point in that, Scotsman said, Lucius doesn't ink his own work. And I was a little bit taken aback by it. I was like, well, what does he mean by that? Because I do put up like outline work, line art work, that would be traditionally considered inking. He told me he was just ribbing me, giving me a hard time. But I feel like he had a point of criticism in that I kind of work with one flat line outline, and then I work that in. And I try to at least get the outline, the form of the figure pretty down pat before I do that. And line weight is one of those things where I feel like I've never really had a strong grasp on. I had a to do enough grasp on using line, but line weight was a whole other thing, and I interpreted that as being like a pointed criticism that wasn't really cruel or harsh, but just like jokingly and yet getting to a point. And I tweeted him an earlier preview of what I've been working on. You guys are seeing a much more fleshed out version of that, and he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I love, I like to see. And I'm not sure if this is where I'd go with it in the final format. One of my favorite artist that I've followed is Paul Pope, and he has, I would call it almost like a wood block type of way of doing it. It's very energetic but defined at the same time. And this guy, he went to like manga books, he did European books that influence his own style as well. I mean, beyond just the way he depicts things, that's the format, the layout, the pacing, everything like that. And I really dig his work. He was on Batman Year 100. Another one of the strips I remember him being on is the I feel like it was DC Wednesday comics or Sunday comics. It was like a longer, taller format style, and he did like Adam Strange books or comic strips that were collected into like a one book series. And it was a really intriguing, really good, one of the standouts in the entire the book that I got, hardcover book. It was a collection, and I followed him. I got his own art book and everything like that. So he's one of those people I really respect. He's his own style. You'll recognize it when you see it, but for some people it turns them off. But a lot of artists really respect it just because you realize it's defined, it's structured, and it's outside the realm of so many ways you could go, schools of thought that you could go. And at any rate, with this illustration. I'm still trying to work out what I want the Dick Rider character to be, but I'm telling you, when it comes to the time that I actually have to work on the book itself, it will be no less of an effort given to really make it one of the top quality books out there, one of the top art books out there, at least. And there's a lot of elements. There's a trade-off. I feel like if you came in early to Comicsgate, you could have released something subpar, I guess, or less than what it could have been, and made a huge success. And yet, at the same time, I feel like you can learn from the mistakes of others all along the way. And certainly, I'm trying to design more than just the look of the book, but all the elements of a campaign as well, and get all my ducks in a row as far as what I can contribute. And this is all on my own part. I still don't know how much Cecil's going to give me to do, but I feel like if I make a compelling enough of an effort, I can get what I want to get out there. And I would do no more than a 48-page book, really. And one of my favorite books out there that I would probably measure up to is a single graphic novel. It was Elseworlds story from DC called Speeding Bullets. I remember getting this. This was a Superman title, but instead of Superman landing in Kansas, he lands in the Wayne Manor yard, extensive backyard or whatever, and he's raised up by the Waynes, and essentially he has kind of the same origin story as Batman, except that he is Superman. So he actually kills Joe Chill in the act of the whole walking out of the Zorro movie and having his parents murdered. And even Bruce Wayne was shot at, but because he's Superman, he's not killed by the bullets. And then he just uses heat vision to kill Joe Chill, and it takes over from there in all sorts of ways, working off of both the Superman Batman stories and this Elseworlds tale. And it's only 48 pages long, and that's the kind of story where it's it's got no sequels. It's all self-contained. That's the way I'd want a story to be if I were going after it, like a true defined start, middle, end on its own, but I would leave it at an open end where you could do sequels, a series of books. At the same time, I can't imagine doing 300 issues of it. I think part of the great part of the crowdfunding thing is that you can put more effort into it, give a higher quality to the book, the product that you put out there, and that's certainly what I would try to do. And at any rate, ultimately, this is what I wanted to show you, was this picture. Kind of get your thoughts on it. I'll show the other things that I've been doing too, as far as the way I've been drawing it. This is my second attempt at the thing because I went on a long tangent and I lost my way. And hopefully, by the time I finish this up, you guys are getting a sneak peek because you're my subscribers, and I feel like I owe a little more to you guys for being the sincerest, the most energetic, the most on top of it followers I can get. And certainly out of the 77, 8 or so of you that are subscribed to me right now, you're the most on it if you're watching this. So you deserve that sneak peek, all right? But I'm hoping that Cecil's on a bit of a break right now from Twitter. Not such a bad thing to do. Social media is a clusterfuck of all sorts of things, and I don't think anyone should invest themselves too heavily into it. And if you need to take a break from it, take a break from it. But I'm hoping to knock this one out of the park, and I'm looking at even trying to animate it as well. Simply because it's a very complex picture, but simple animation kind of give it a bit more life, so it has a bit more range, I think, with people would be good. And you know, I'm all about the same way I spent I don't know how many months building up Cash Grab, even before it was a real thing campaign piece. I would try the same with Dick Rider, especially if I'm going to be on it, man. So, at any rate, I hope you guys, your May's going good. June is almost upon us. Good God, the time is flying. This is my favorite time of year. Longest days. The weather's turning up. The entire ecosystem's turning up the way I like it. I hate the fact that a number of us are left in these quarantine conditions, you know, wearing masks and supposed to keep distancing. I have yet to see anybody really do the proper 6 feet apart, unless it's marked off in the register line. But anywhere else, like, you see people, I mean, I really think like our natural element is probably about 3 feet apart, to be honest. Somewhere around that 3 to 2 feet apart in terms of like what we're used to. And you know, I like I said, I don't feel like this thing's a huge deal, but it could be. So take your proper measures of precaution and all that jazz. But thanks for checking in, guys. I hope to check in with you soon. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you like the art. Give me any feedback you got, and I'll catch up with you soon, as always. And I'll be putting out some reviews on some Comicsgate stuff soon to come. So keep an eye out. Watch your alerts. Watch my Twitter feed. That's where you're going to see it first, because YouTube is sucking at putting out notifications. But love all you guys. Appreciate all that you do. Appreciate the follows, the retweets, the subscriptions, the hearts, the likes, the thumbs up, the commentary, all of it. So take care, guys. I'll catch you later.